Hello and welcome to Beyond the Blue Line. On today's show, we'll go over the 12 games we have played since our Christmas. We will also shortly be joined by netminder Matt Robson, and we look ahead to this weekend's games. Ed, a crazy period for you, the Blaze yourself. You were in Guildford as well, commentating hockey.
Yep, I think my friends and family have sort of given up on trying to see me over the Christmas period all that much because of the hockey schedule, but that's fine by me. It's become a bit of a tradition. Yeah, I don't think I'd have my Christmas period any other way.
Stu, how are you?
Yeah, very well. Just like emerging and seeing what the real world is like after the hockey period. I won't call it a festive period. It was a hockey period.
It was indeed. Now, the Blaze played the 12 games, as I said. We went 6 wins, 6 losses. There's been some pros, there's been some cons. What have you taken out of those games, Ed?
Yeah, I think what the difference the fine margins would make. We were just saying before we hit record here, if we could take an attribute from last year's group into this year's group, it would probably be the ability to drag games out that you probably don't necessarily deserve too much out of and getting points. Like, it's crazy this year how not a lot of teams have gone to OT very often. 4 or 5 times is about where everyone's at. Whereas last year, you get to this point, teams had been to OT like 12, 11, 13 times. If we could have got something out of a few of those games that we didn't, so the Cardiff Cup game, we need anything out of that. That Manchester game we lost 5-1, which I don't really feel necessarily was a 5-1 game, but hey, them's the breaks. Then, the fine margins, the difference that would have made would have been huge. But look, we came out of it relatively healthy. The injuries that we've seemingly picked up happened in the most recent spell of games. And we put ourselves in a chance to get home ice advantage in the playoffs. So all in all, I'm pretty fine with what happened over Christmas and most of December.
Stu, I mean, I'm not rational when we lose, as you two know. I go into a bit grumpy, and it's the games when we lose against the Nottingham Panthers and the fans are like us. It's a 9-2 loss, but from being in and around the guys, when you speak to them, they don't let it seem to affect them.
No, they seem a remarkably level-headed bunch. Not getting too high with the highs, not getting too low with the lows. The old cliche. And it has been. There has been some really good points over that 12-game stretch. Beating Belfast and making sure you're getting over that was a really good win. And then there have been some lows. 9-2 in Nottingham, being shut out in Sheffield is not great either. But there's been this sort of air of consistency, and it goes back to some of the things that sort of Kevin has been talking about how we don't change the approach. It doesn't matter if it's a big win, a big loss, or close game. The approach is the approach, and we're going to stick with it because that's what we believe in, and that's our process.
Indeed, and there's been some mad results around the league. The league is very mad this year. I mean, five apart. Anyone can beat anyone. Like Pete Russell reminds everyone that Cardiff are short at the moment, but Dundee going to get a win in their barn. It's shaping up to be a good season. I mean, Saturday we went into Sheffield. It was a very good first period for the Blaze, but I think the second period kind of got away from us a little bit. What did you think of the game, Ed?
Yeah, it really smacked us one of those games where we capitalize on a chance in the first period and it changes the complexion. And we've had that with teams in the past where they're very good. Maybe they play 55 minutes of decent hockey and then 5 minutes the game gets away from them. But the deeper you go in a game without scoring, the more pressure's on. And that Sheffield team's good. The defending Grand Slam champions, and also they're very good at shutting up shop and closing down games. So if we were able to get 1 or 2 on the board in that first period, it just changes what the rest of it looks like. But we've played worse in games, that's for sure. And ultimately, I think the big takeaway was how we rebounded the next night.
Stu, I mean, it was frustrating in the sense of how good we were in the first, and it looked like we had a couple of chances, and then just concede 3 goals in 3 minutes. It's not how you're not going to get anything Sheffield playing like that.
No, and I think there was a collective, perhaps, just sort of maybe a bit of a switch off. Just was it four goals in 8 minutes and 15 seconds? That was a kicker. You do that in anybody's rink, you're going to struggle. You do that in the defending champions rink, you're really going to struggle. I think that's it. The first period was good. The first 10 minutes of the second period were pretty decent. I think you'd have still said Sheffield were probably edging it at that point. But, when you're in a close game, a lucky bounce, things happen and you're in it. But, you concede 4 in short succession. And then in the third, Blaze were just chasing it and Sheffield did a professional job and shut the game out.
Yeah, and they went on to shut out the 5 Flyers the next night. So they're 7 wins in a row now, the Sheffield Steelers. So they found their groove and they are the reigning Grand Slam champions. So we need to take that into account. Fast forward 24 hours. Boys, wow, completely different game. I don't really know what to make of this one. It was, well, you talked me through it.
Yeah, it was a game where I think, the officials staked out their claim in the first period and they were going to try and let the guys play. And then they needed to retract that pretty quickly. But look, we did it like Sheffield did the night before. We did a professional job. We focused on what it took to win that hockey game. We, until the very end, didn't get any power play time. And then when we did, we scored, which was great. But we did all the things that we needed to do to win that hockey game. We protected Matt, as we can see with that clip. We let him see the puck, and we took advantage of Manchester's mistakes and our scoring chances. I liked our game. I thought, considering that, Manchester had just seen us get shut out by Sheffield, I understand what their game plan was going to be in that one. Try and make us uncomfortable on our own ice, try and get on our heads a little bit, make it difficult for us. But we stuck to our guns, stuck to the game plan, and we did what a team should do when they have aspirations of winning something this year.
Stu, you just seen that hit on Hazeldine and Alderson straight in there, Kukali straight in there. Manchester, I think, felt the game plan is they're not as fast as us. That's clearly evident. So I think they come in to try and rough us up a bit, but we weren't having that.
Yeah, and it was nice as well. You see Alderson and Kukali coming in there, and they're standing up for Hazeldine, which is great to see. But also there's a sort of a nod of like, oh, are the refs calling anything? Because what we don't want to do is give ourselves up a power play, put ourselves on the penalty kill. We're in a tight game. There were some smarts as well. So they were standing up, but they were standing up for the team in an intelligent way, which I really liked. And I think if my, it was a crazy game, really was a crazy game. But, my takeaway is, you come out with the 2 points and, a relatively solid 2 points as well from the Blaze. So I think, it's a very much a good job done, and move on to the next one.
And the incident with Kennedy and Derflinger, as we can see now, I'm surprised it took to the 11th of January for Kennedy to get drawn into a boxing match, shall we say. Mr. Kennedy does like to make friends with the opposition team, and he does it very well.
Yeah, that's kind of his role, and it's so funny. And I say this on the webcast all the time. Like, Mike is such a soft-spoken, nice young man, but to play against, he's clearly a pain in the backside. Doesn't take any prisoners. But look, that's the game nowadays. Guys who play that role that Mike plays don't have to fight as much. But I think, like you say, this game got to a point where it boiled over. One cross check or one hit, away from the play or late on the play was enough. And he decided, well, look, if I'm not going to get any help elsewhere in terms of defense, I'm just going to do it myself. And in some ways, I think it changed the complex of the game a little bit. I think Manchester felt like they backed off slightly after that. And, from a business perspective, who doesn't love the fight? So I'm sure the marketing guys are going to have a lot of fun with that in the next few weeks for sure, trying to put bums on seats.
The frustration I have, and I moan about it a lot, is I think we had 3 coincidental penalties called in a row. it does nothing to deter any niggly stuff after the play. There needs to be. I don't like the rule change. I know it's been in for a couple of years, but we need to be going 4-on-4. There needs to be a power play call because that's where the game will tip over the edge. I don't know if you guys think differently.
I completely agree, and I think I've made that point. I certainly made that point on Sunday, and it's probably not the first time I've made it. I think the 5-on-5 does nothing for the game if you're keeping the guys on the ice. I know the principle behind it. Like you want to see the players on the ice, you want to see the players settle the game. Let's keep things going, but at some point, there needs to be an understanding. It was, I think, three incidents, but it was 5 consecutive. Effectively coincidental penalties when you include the 2s and the 5s and everything else. So we effectively had 5 coincidental sets of penalties in that game, and that's just too many. I think it needs it needs looking at in terms of trying to understand a little bit more. Put them 4-on-4, get a bit more space. There's loads of space in the Skydome, let alone what it's like on some of the bigger ice pads in the league. And that's going to open the game out. And if anything, that makes a better watch. And your teams might think twice about getting yourself into the pushes and the shoves after the whistle, which delays the game. It's not great for the fan. Fights, everybody likes. It gets up, it gets the atmosphere going. But the pushing and shoving, everyone's just sort of, what's that about? Why? Let's just stop that and get on with the game.
I'm a little bit surprised with where the game's going. I am a little bit surprised we don't go 4-on-4 anymore because, OT is 3-on-3. And yeah, it seems to make a little bit more sense with where the style of the game is at the minute. The other thing they could do, because it's a tough one, is in an incident, has someone been more illegal, should we say, than another? If someone's been particularly the aggressor in the play, okay, fine. It's, half a dozen of one, half a dozen of the other, but someone stood out as being particularly violent, let's just say for argument's sake. Do you give them both penalties but put a double minor on the other guy? So you acknowledge that both guys have broken the rules here and deserve to be penalized, but one of the two was particularly bad, and therefore his team gets to a disadvantage. I don't know what the answer is there, but certainly from a hockey perspective, 4-on-4 is cool, and who doesn't love that? So do that some more.
I just wanted to focus on this goal by Greasock here. I think it's a very, very clever goal. He just outweights the goal. He appreciates a 5-on-3, but he almost just kind of thinks, I'm just going to pass this in. It's a great goal.
Yeah, we've got a lot of space there on the 5-on-3. Greasock, I think it was his 13th of the year. We know he's got a great shot. He had 16 in the coast last year. He'll surpass that, or at least he should, particularly if he stays healthy. And he's given Wenninger a lot to think about by looking right, looking left. He's moved the puck around. He's got a little bit of a screen in front and backs himself. And he's in a no-lose situation as well because it's late in the game. If it's a save off the shoulder and it goes into the netting, okay, no harm, no foul. If he scores, he scores. So
yeah, he's got such a quick release as well. So he's backing himself to get that puck off and get it into the back of the net. But he's looking to Amorosa that whole way. And once the high man on the penalty kill commits and is kind of drawn across to cover the pass, he knows he's got a shooting lane there. So he just quickly turns, whips the shot off and gets it in.
As I said, we are joined by our guest, and that was Matt Robson. So we'll welcome Matt now.
How's it going, buddy? Thanks for joining us. How's the evening going?
Going well. Had a nice dinner. Just relaxing with Kooks at home.
Nice. Sounds good. I got a couple ones because when you signed for Blaze this year, we done some kind of introductions to the players, and we brought you on pretty late, so we didn't get a chance to kind of give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. And you've had such an interesting career to date, so I wanted to cover that a little, and then I think Stu's going to talk about this year with the Blaze, particularly if that's cool.
Sounds good.
So if we go back to like the junior career, because if you had done what happened in your junior career now in 2025, it would have gone a whole lot differently, presumably. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about what happened there when you were between the O and the OJ and how that whole thing went down?
Yeah, with the new rules, who knows how it would have played out, but essentially, yeah. So minor midget when you're like 15 years old, you get drafted to the OHL. I was fortunate enough to do that. I was drafted by the Peterborough Petes and signed with them immediately following our rookie camp. That growing up in Toronto in that area, that's kind of the thing to do. That seems like the right route to take when all you want to do is play hockey. So that's what we decided on doing. And also being kind of a young, naive kid, I was like, I'll think about school later. I just want to play hockey right now. So I did that. Ended up breaking my kneecap in our first preseason game against Mississauga, no less, my hometown team, at an arena about 5 minutes away from my house. So pretty much knocked me out for that season. My rookie season, ended up taking obviously the physical therapy pretty seriously, trying to get back as quickly as possible, but ultimately was sent to Tier 2 in the OJHL to kind of get back up to speed. So I played for the Lindsay Muskies for the remainder of that year. And as a young 16-year-old kid coming off of injuries, didn't really get too much of an opportunity to play too much. Went back the following year to Peterborough and took a skate to the neck, much like Belfast earlier this year. So I couldn't really look to my left for a couple months. Ultimately was sent down again to the Ontario Junior Hockey League. Finished that season out with the Lindsay Muskies again, and kind of just decided then and there that that was the draft year. So I didn't really get a single minute in the OHL at that point. So figured the best thing to do would be try and look at other options, different routes. We had heard about another kid who had kind of gone through a similar situation of playing a couple games or something like that in the OHL, and then finding a way to get to school and get his eligibility back. So we really looked into that. Got traded to my hometown team, the Toronto Patriots, in the OJ. Had a great year. We won the championship that year, which was a lot of fun. A lot of great guys on that team. And not a lot of people expected us to win that year. Maybe much like this year, hopefully the stars align and we can do that again. But so ended up getting a couple offers, decided on one school, went to school, dealt with all the lawyers, the NCAA, kind of jumping through hoops, trying to figure everything out. And ultimately was handed a 1.5-year suspension by the NCAA. So I redshirted my entire freshman year. And I was still young enough at this point to make a decision to go back to junior hockey. I was called with an opportunity to go play out in British Columbia. So I went to the Penticton Vees, which is a pretty storied franchise in the junior world. And that was a great decision for me. I had another terrific year. We won the championship again. And then I kind of got to pick where I wanted to go and decided to go to Minnesota, thinking that final half a year would have been served with me playing junior hockey. Got to school, ultimately found out that it had not been served. So I had to sit out another half a year of college hockey. Ended up getting to play around Christmas time, which would, I guess, still kind of be my freshman year. I had done school. I had to do school while I was playing junior as well. So I was technically a third year at that point, but eligibility wise, I think I was like a freshman or a sophomore, whatever you want to call it. So played that year, did well. And then, kind of knew going into the following season that if I performed again, that I would have kind of an opportunity to, pursue my dream. So went back to school, played another year, and then ultimately signed with the Minnesota Wild at the conclusion of that season. So that is pretty much that story in a nutshell. Obviously, there's ins and outs to it, but to keep it short and sweet for you guys, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. If nothing else, it was unique, and you got to experience a lot of unique situations. And for a young guy, I assume it was pretty character building as well, having to overcome a fair chunk of adversity. But like you say, you won in Toronto in the OJ, and then you won in Penticton in the BC. They're both junior A essentially. I think the BCHL is technically an independent now. If you want to be technical, but like, where do they compare in terms of where the hockey's at? Because they both got a lot of merit, haven't they?
Yeah, for sure. I think a few years ago, back when I was playing, they were a little bit closer in standard. I can't speak on it too much now. I just know that the rules and like the insurance policies and, the financial situations have changed a lot. So that kind of takes a lot of, I don't know, it takes a toll on the individual leagues. Personally, in my experience, I think anyone in Canada would agree that getting out to the BCHL is probably what you want to do as a junior hockey player. That was up until this year. Obviously, now major junior, like it's a whole new ball game. So, but if I were to compare the two, obviously I don't even know if I'm biased. Like I had a great time in both leagues for sure, but I think the BCHL was the place to be. Tons of kids from Ontario. I mean, they have a rule where you have to be 18 to go over there if you're not from British Columbia, obviously for development purposes in their own province. But I think that's what a lot of kids wanted to do. And it was great. Like there's just so many teams in and around Toronto that maybe the support, just isn't there, and it doesn't really help the clubs financially, whatever you want to call it. I haven't been on that side of the game yet, but that would be my kind of take. Because when I got out to British Columbia, it was a whole new ball game. The arenas were pretty packed, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, who doesn't love playing in front of a big group of fans? Because as well, you ended up getting recruited by two different colleges with two pretty good hockey programs in Clarkson, and like you say, you tell us that didn't work out for various reasons, mostly administrative. And then you end up in the University of Minnesota. What was, I guess, the difference in recruitment like between the two colleges? And what were your experiences there like? Because everybody does it a little bit differently, don't they? And everyone has different selling points to young players coming through.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of like an arms race with schools nowadays, with their programs and what they can offer players, whether it's facilities, success, like team success, schooling. Kind of depends on what you're looking for as an individual. But my experiences were very different in terms of the recruitment process, because when I was, getting recruited by Clarkson, I was only talking to like 2 or 3 schools who were even willing to take that chance on the eligibility side of things. So, and it was super last minute too. Like I remember I had to drive down with my dad late in the summer to go see the school. And I don't even think it was like an official visit if I was even allowed to do that. But like I just went down to see the school to see where I might be ending up. And decided that I want to play D1 ultimately, and that's just what we're gonna have to do. So that was kind of that first experience. It worked out, but then obviously playing in British Columbia, when people know that you're eligible to play, it was kind of a whole different ball game. I went on a few different visits, flying out of I think we had an airport, or I might have driven to Kelowna or something. I went on I think I took all my visits. Just trying to experience as much as I could. It was a little hard, obviously, saying, like, that was my first experience kind of saying no to people, which I still don't really like doing, but that's just part of the game. And then once I got to Minnesota, met those guys, saw obviously the program, the facilities that they have there. They're second to none in the nation. So that on top of, the 100+ year history now is just, it was hard to turn that down. And then on top of that, being from a big city of Toronto, I fell in love with the Twin Cities as well. It was home for me for about 4 years, maybe 5. And I definitely don't regret that decision at all. It was fantastic. I had fun every single day there.
No, it's like you say, University of Minnesota is a heck of a program. And then you get quite a good rivalry with Duluth. And it's a stacked division as well, isn't it? That the University of Minnesota playing. What was it like playing with some of the big teams and some intense games?
Oh, it was unbelievable. My one of my first games was against St. Cloud, which is an in-state rival. They're not in the Big Ten, so it wasn't a division game, but those in-state games are almost bigger because they come from that old school conference. So my first, it wasn't my first game. I think my first game was against Army. We won. It was a great experience. Kind of get my feet wet in college hockey. I'd been waiting, 2.5 years at that point to play a game. And so then when I think the next game I think was against St. Cloud, and they were number 1 in the nation, and we ended up shutting them out 1-0 at home, and we scored late in the game, and I swear the arena blew up, or the roof blew off the arena. And it was just, I was addicted at that point to playing in front of those crowds and winning those big games and just kind of like craving those big moments. And then obviously you have the Big Ten, which is, stacked top to bottom every single year. All big schools, draft picks, you name it. Like, it's just wicked. Like, you want to go up against the best. You want to test yourself and see what you're capable of. So getting to do that every single weekend and in front of the fans in Minnesota, the state of hockey, was incredible.
And then the Wild come a calling, and presumably, like, they have, I don't know, a special relationship with the schools in Minnesota, being geographically there, and knowing the pedigree of some of the guys coming through. But just tell us how that whole thing came about with you ended up signing with the Wild.
Yeah, it was kind of similar to choosing Minnesota. Kind of doing my due diligence with my parents, my agent, just trying to see what the best fit was, what team kind of had the best, opportunity for me to step in. And it came down, we narrowed it down to about 5. And then with Minnesota being, obviously with the Gophers being right in their backyard, they were able to come see me a lot. And I was at their development camp 2 years prior. So I was able to kind of form a bit of a relationship with them. With their player development staff, with their GM, coach. It was really cool. And they treated me and my family fantastic. And we just felt like it was going to be, like kind of a second family. So they made that decision pretty easy for me. And then on top of that, I got to go up and travel with the team for a couple months at the end of the season. They didn't, make me sign a PTO. I just immediately signed my entry deal, and that kind of showed me the faith that they had in me, and I just wanted to take that and run with it.
And you had a really good first stint in Iowa as well in the A. You got a shutout, you had a winning record, getting over 90 and below 3 in that league is a very good going, especially for a rookie. I guess just tell us about your time in the A, because you must have been thinking that something was building there in terms of getting a cup of coffee in the show, maybe getting a couple games in Minnesota. And then bad timing, I guess, with the world pausing there.
Yeah, for sure. Prior to that season, they had kind of cleaned house and brought in all new staff, new GM, new coach, new everything. So, not one of their guys sort of thing, but played the year in the AHL and was kind of I was a backup goalie, obviously. The other goalie played fantastic, but that's to be expected as a rookie. But yeah, I thought I played well, and ultimately was going to get an opportunity to run and play a bunch of games there with an injury coming down the lineup. But the world kind of paused, and that was that. And then things happen, like they're just kind of out of your control. So it is what it is.
For sure. I mean, I would happily talk to you about the following years. But I appreciate I need to let Stu ask you some questions about your time in the Blaze. Otherwise, everyone's going to get cross with us. But just talk about playing in Poland a little bit, because you kind of joined Krakow a little bit late on in the year. I think you joined just at the turn of the calendar year there, and then went on an absolute tear individually through the playoffs. Just tell us a little bit about your experience in Poland there, and what was it like playing in Krakow?
Yeah, it was. Great city. Really loved being in that country. Wasn't sure what to expect. Wasn't even expecting to play hockey that year, to be honest. Just following a few injuries and things just hadn't really gone my way. I was thinking, that might be curtains for me. But got a call at around end of December. Kind of decided, maybe need to see what's going on. I'd be lying if I said I didn't immediately get on the ice and start training every day to see, if I could even get back into shape. But I was staying in shape as best I could, but there's nothing like game shape. So I think it was end of January, maybe early February, that I ended up getting down there. And it was, not the greatest start. I think I lost my first 2 games. But I was just trying to get back into game shape, get the timing right. Obviously, I was like the only North American on the team, so it was a bit of a culture shock. But once I kind of, found my game, I was able to kind of help them to have a chance in the playoffs. And ultimately we lost in game 7 to a really, really good team in Osvencham. And yeah, I mean, it was a great experience, and it kind of showed me, it kind of reignited the fire, if you want to call it that. And I don't think I'd be, playing this year if that hadn't happened. So thankful for them to bring me in and give me an opportunity. And yeah.
It's worked out well for us. Last one from me, I promise, because some guys' intersection with Kevin Moore is pretty obvious. He was at Princeton. He signs 3 guys from Princeton. He was at Adrian. He signs 3 guys from Adrian. He was at Indy for a while. There's some links there. Where does your story intersect with Kevin Moore? How did you guys get linked up?
Yeah, brief. It's been a brief relationship, but a fantastic one. I can't say enough good things about Kevin and the opportunity that he's given me and the support that he's shown me throughout this year, on and off the ice. Like he's just a great guy through and through, and a great coach, and he's going to go far in this game. But we met over the phone in the summertime, late August. He gave me a call. We talked for maybe 30, 45 minutes, just kind of, talk about life, my career, kind of why things are the way that they are at that moment. I was coaching, thinking that's what I was going to be doing. And then the conversation obviously went well enough for him to shoot over a contract, and took the opportunity, and I'm, couldn't be happier that I did.
Cool. Stu.
Yeah. Like you say, you a very short conversation. You took the contract. You fly over, and then all of a sudden you're in the West Midlands, and you're a goalie in the Elite League. How much knowledge did you have of UK hockey up until that point? Like, was it that much? Anything at all?
A little bit, yeah. I've had friends who've come over and played in the league. One of my friends from high school was in Belfast a couple years ago when they won the championship. So, I mean, just talking to him and how much fun he had over here, he said it's a competitive league, and obviously you do a little bit of research and you see some of the other names around the league, and you're like, oh, I played against that guy, I played against that guy, played with that guy, whatever it is. So obviously, there's going to be some merit to the game, and other than that, didn't know too much about it. My mom she was born and raised in Wales, so I kind of had another bit of a reason to kind of give it a shot. I definitely wanted to come over and experience the UK at some point in my life, and I'm happy it's through sports, definitely, because it's worked out well so far. I'm having a great time.
I remember us sitting down and having a conversation on Media Day when we filmed the very first thing. And I think you were possibly the most jet-lagged person I think I've ever interviewed. I'm hoping you've kind of got over it now. It was a bit of a thrust. You come over, you landed, and it was all those games, and pre-season was pretty hectic. It was a very fast learning process, wasn't it, the first couple of weeks?
For sure, yeah. It happened, like I said, signed late. It happened really fast. It was a long flight. I'm not good at sleeping on moving vehicles, whether it's a bus or a plane. So I was kind of up throughout the whole night, and then arrive, and we were doing Media Day. So I kind of want to say, like, I had to push myself hardest for that, honestly, because once I got to sleep, putting on the skates is like second nature to me. So we got into preseason, had a great preseason. Met the guys, and like I said, Kev and Zach have done a great job at uniting the team and giving us, belief in ourselves. And through the team bonding that we did, you could tell that this was going to be a special group. So, yeah, it's just the hockey kind of comes naturally. It was all that beginning stuff that kind of took a toll, but a toll is a hefty word for it because it's just part of the job.
And now, you as Ed's already mentioned, you've been in a few different rooms. You've played on a few different teams in college, junior, and a couple of pro. And you get to understand a little bit about what makes a good team. Was there anything that sort of springs to mind about when you realised this was a good group of guys that you got here in Coventry?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you think of like the off-ice stuff and how you're going to bond with each other. And I think that has a big impact on how you're going to play for each other on the ice. But then, once you get into practice itself, you see that we've got a lot of talent on the team, a lot of unknowns with first year guys and things like that. But I think I think, like I said, Kevin Zach did a great job recruiting, putting this team together. So, hats off to them. And then obviously guys are really performing. Guys are playing really well this year. So it's not everything you can predict, but you can plan for the best. And I think we got still a long ways to go, upwards trajectory for sure.
There's definitely still a lot of hockey to play as we sit here in mid-January. But thinking about planning and that sort of projection of how things would go, I'm assuming that at some point, Kevin, when he was talking to you over the phone, was speaking about the situation and like how you'd be coming in, and there was another goalie coming in with Cam Gray and then Will Bray as well, and you'd probably share a bit of starts, and that was the kind of scenario that was given to you. Cam has to leave for personal reasons in pre-season, which, completely understandable. And then you're suddenly thrust into the situation where you're starting every game. Did you have a conversation about that? Was there a discussion like, I'm okay to start every game? How did that go?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was my goal coming over here. Ultimately, was to win the net and play as much as possible. And with as humbly as I could say, with my abilities, if I can play up to that standard, I think, if everything goes right, like that would have been the plan. For me personally, who knows how it would have shaken out. Cam he was stellar when he was here. He's a fantastic goalie. But ultimately, yeah, with him leaving, missed the guy, but I really enjoy playing every single game. Like, I really enjoy it. So I've had a few conversations with Kevin about the situation itself and potentially what do we need to do moving forward throughout the season. But I assured him that like I'll be good to go and prepared for every single game. And I definitely want that responsibility. Like I love knowing that I'm going and just preparing myself and performing is all I kind of have to worry about. So it's been good.
Do you think it helps as well that Kevin is a goalie himself, so that you kind of that he has that knowledge of where you're at in terms of physical, like your physical routine during the week, and like whether you're in that space that you, when you say you're good to go, he knows you're good to go?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he kind of leaves it up to me, but he's always asking like if you need an extra day or if you need a couple less reps in practice, whatever it is. But I've always said, if the players can do it, so can I. Give me all the work and I'll push through. So, yeah, I think obviously with him being a goalie, he understands it a little bit better. I think he understands kind of the mental side of it a little better than some other coaches, which is great because you're not going to have the best day every single day. And he knows, but he knows, and he has the confidence. And I think the team has the confidence that, I'll put my best foot forward every single game.
When we've spoken to Kevin, he certainly waxed lyrical over yourself and how pleased he is to have you in net. And I think I share that with the rest of the guys on the call here. It's been a great start to the season, and we only hope for better things. It was nice to see your family over when your dad popped over. He said hello to a few of us, but I think Scott has a couple of words he might want to add on that.
Yeah, I mean, before Christmas, he was over and we were in Sheffield, and I was in the pub, and I had my Blaze shirt on, and he just plonked himself next to me and said, "Hi, I'm Matt's dad." And I shared a couple of beers with him, and he's quite proud of what you've achieved, but how much has he been an influence for you? Because he had stories and stories. Like he did say he was going to message me, and he didn't, so he's in trouble for that. But talk to us about your family.
Yeah, I'll let him know that for sure. But in terms of influence, like I couldn't even put it into words. Obviously, driving me to the rink almost every single day through childhood. I don't know how he managed it because I have two other siblings who are in hockey as well. So the fact that they were able to swing that for all those years is just incredible, and the commitment that they showed to us is, that just means the world to me. And the least I can do is give my best effort as every single day and try and make them proud. And I think that's my goal, is to just have them smiling watching hockey games. I know they're watching every game back home, but Yeah, he had a fantastic time over here as well, though. He loved it. He'll be back soon for sure.
Good. He was good fun. But I wanted to bring that up as well because Talberg's parents were over at the same time. A lot of the guys' parents have been over. We talk about how good groups are, and we've had in the past. The last one we really seen was 1920 when we were pushing for a title. From the outside looking in, you briefly touched it on earlier, but from the young pros, first year pros to the more established guys, this seems like a really good knit of guys.
Yeah, honest, one of the best I've ever been a part of, top to bottom, starting with Kimmy, our captain, running right through our veterans. Like Kook's my roommate's been here. This is his third year. Just kind of showing the young guys the ropes. It's really cool to see how close this group has gotten, how much the guys hang out away from the arena, the jokes that are told in the locker room, like just the banter. That's your guys' word. I'm stealing it. But no, it's been fantastic. Like it just makes going to the rink every single day so much fun. Going to battle with them, knowing that they're going to compete, you're going to compete. Tempers go up, but that's just because everyone's competitive. It's always smiles after a nice session, and like I said, it's just been so much fun. Everyone wants to win. Everyone really wants to win. Everyone wants everyone else to succeed and do well and be happy and have fun out there. And I think you can see it in the game how much fun the guys are having. Like I'm by myself in net, but like they get to all play together, and I have the best seat in the house to be able to watch them do what they do. So.
And just the last one from me, the Brits are very important to any team in this league, and we've got some great young guys. Jack Hopkins is a second year, Hazeldine, and Cap's 17 years old. He's just been away with GB, but he's going to be a special talent.
Yeah, definitely. I can't say enough about the Brits. Obviously, starting at the top there with Dave in his testimonial year, he's been just instrumental in the good vibes around the locker room and steady play throughout the season. And Jack is he's a special player. He's gonna be a great player in this league. Archie the same thing. Brindley the same thing. Zayner's been fantastic as well. Just always ready for opportunities. And Will's just a workhorse every day, doing what he needs to do. His game has improved incredibly. It's just been such a good time. Like you said, the Brits are important. They kind of show us around, make us feel at home. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. They're all awesome guys. I can't say enough good things about everyone around the locker room.
It's good to see the smile on your face, Matt. Ed, Stu, anything else?
One more, I promise. I know I said that earlier. We got some guys that can shoot the puck this year, Matt. And I know everybody, as a goalie, releases the puck a little different. They all have little traits. Who do you think is the trickiest? Because Oldie's got the power, right? Chase can release it real quick. Lucha's got those hands. Nick's a powerhouse. I mean, Reeves is little the assist, but he can shoot too. Who's that one guy that, when he's coming down on you in practice, gives you the most trouble?
Oh, if any of them at all? No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, it'd be hard to pick one. Like you said, like you kind of just touched on all their specialties. Like I know when we're doing power play, Aldie's going to get a shot off, and I'm probably going to feel it. I know if Kimmy gets a breakaway, he's probably going 5-hole. He's just torching the league with that move right now. It took me a few months to figure it out, but I think I got the hang of it. I think he's switching it up on me now, that's the thing is like you start to learn guys' habits and strengths, and then you try and like take them away because you're playing mind games in practice with your own guys because you see them every single day, so that forces them to switch things up, and it's a competitive environment. It's always a battle with everyone on the ice. I don't know if I want to give anyone the crown of saying they're the trickiest to deal with, but all of them definitely can rip the puck. Like even when my dad was over here, he was like pleasantly surprised at the level of play and just how fast those shots are coming at me. And he went and stood behind the net a little bit because I don't think he hadn't seen me play in a couple of years, so he went and stood behind the net just to kind of get a feel for it because that's where he was watching all my minor hockey games, and I think they're coming a little bit faster today than they were, maybe 10 years ago.
That's a good political answer. I like that one. Good job.
Matt, thank you very much for your time. A lot of hockey still to be played, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to putting some more points on the board, getting some more wins, more smiles around the room.
Brilliant. Cheers, Matt.
Cheers, Matt.
He just gives you a warm feeling, doesn't he? And the smile on his face was evident. He's enjoying playing hockey.
Yeah, we love Matt. Matt's great. Great goalie to have in the room. And, you know, when you've been around the Blaze as long as, you know, us three have, you always come back to, you know, who's been the best goalie that we've had. And, you know, you get the Lehman Koenig argument. Brian Stewart won the last trophy we've won. And then CJ Mott kind of creeped in every now and then because he was pretty good. And if Matty sticks around a while, he's enjoying it. He decides he wants to put down some roots here, like his roommate Cougs has done, and he keeps this up, he's going to be in that conversation too.
Stu?
It's what you want to see, isn't it? You want to see guys enjoying their hockey, smiles on their faces, and just that positivity. And in how he speaks as well, he comes across in the same way that you see him on the ice, very measured, very composed. It's all very clear and well thought through and well acted out. And that's the sort of thing that you can build off of from a team. If you know what your goalie's going to do behind you, you can start to defend in a set way. You can build from the back, and it's just a good thing to have. And Matt's been great for us this year. Real solid at the back end.
He has indeed. And looking forward to the weekend, boys. It's quickly time to get a bit of redemption, hopefully, on the Nottingham Panthers. We go into their rink on Saturday night. What have we got to do to get that win? Because they were flying. I mean, they've had a tough weekend in Belfast. They're supposedly the better team, in especially on the first game. And then they had the third night in Dundee and got the win. So it's a tough place to go this year. And Danny's got them working well.
Yep. Yeah, Danny's. To be honest, it's good to see Danny having some success though, just not against us, because he's Mr. Blaze and having a testimonial. You can't take anything away from it. But look, take the crowd out of the game early. Get a couple on the board in the first period, and then just play the 60 minutes. We know we can beat them. We know we've got a good team here. They've got big ice that suits guys like Seitz and Luciani. That line's been going really good with Grayson recently. There's no reason we can't win. Like you say, you just got to not have a 5-minute switch off. Certainly not a 60-minute switch off. But yeah, I think really get a good start. Take the crowd out of the game early, and build the foundations for a win through the rest of it.
Stu, we're really happy with our goalie over in Nottingham. They're really happy. They've got Ryan Bednard has been absolutely outstanding, and obviously Sam Herr is foreign, but Didrik Hembrandt is a pain. He's his second year at Nottingham. They've got some good players. Yeah,
they've got some good players, and like you said, they're hitting form as well. They've been on a bit of a run. They had a difficult weekend. 3-3 on the road is tough for any team, and you come out of that with a few points and some performances. I'm sure it's not as many as they would have liked, and they'll probably be thinking, we've dropped a couple against some rivals that we possibly shouldn't have done. Certainly in that Friday game. So now thinking, well. We've got the Blaze coming back again. We had a good New Year's period against them. Got 2 wins. Bednard in the Sky Dome was outstanding. Really good, solid performance from him. And I think they'll be, they'll probably be using that to get some confidence back. And I think I'd agree with Ed. The Blaze have got to start quick. They've got to get a couple on the board. And that was kind of evident in the New Year's Day game in the Sky Dome. The Blaze were doing well, but they didn't break it. And probably for sort of 35 minutes, the Blaze were on top. And then because they hadn't got that one in, that one or two in, Panthers hung around, and then in the third period switched it on, and were able to come out with the 2 points. And you can't let that happen. So you've got to get yourself up and ahead early doors.
No, I'm very much looking forward to it, because barring those games over a busy schedule, all the games have been close. So yes, looking forward to that one. And then Guildford come into town on Sunday. They are struggling away from home to pick up points, but they have been very short on D. They brought in James Shearer last week. They're trying to get bodies back. They've had Ferguson back on D. So it'll be a new opposition for us in the Guildford that have been playing in the last couple of weeks. But usually a good game between Guildford, and we'd be looking to try and get the 2 points out of that one.
I actually think apart from the first game, which is one of the reasons I'm never allowed on the Blaze bench again. One and the only time I've done that, we get blown away. I thought we played really well against them. The other game we played in the Spectrum, we didn't get the result. I think it was close, like 2-1 or something. Kupski had a good game in net. But ever since then, I thought we played really good against them. So I have no qualms that we played the right way. We play like we did against Manchester, for example, and we'll get something out of that game. And yeah, it'd be nice to welcome all Mr. Shearer back into the Sky Dome, and you can see what the other bench feels like.
Yeah. Anything to add, Stu? I mean, I'll just say one thing that the one player that's impressed me is Jack Jacome. He mid-season signing. He's been absolutely stellar for him.
Yeah, they've got a good team, but the thing that always strikes me about Guildford, they're coached really well. Paul Dixon does a great job at sort of organising them, and even if they are, or they have been short on bodies, they still have a good structure. They still play the game the right way. They'll probably come with a road hockey mentality, as you'd expect if you're short on bodies, or maybe lacking in fitness. Second game of a weekend, and you've been down over a period of weeks. Christmas isn't that far away in the rearview mirror. So they'll probably come try and keep it tight defensively. Look to and the Blaze will have to try and open them up as best they can. But the games are always close. I mean, even the games that we've had, barring that one game earlier on in the year, that, like you say, it is Ed's fault. We kind of it has been close. It's been shootouts. It's 1-goal games, and it'll be a great watch. So people should get down to the Sky Dome and enjoy the game.
Definitely. And to wrap up, boys, we mentioned how mad this league is this year. Cardiff Devils are playing in the Continental Cup. Unfortunately, it's not the cup they're expecting, with the Kazakh team not being allowed in, Katowice short on players. But they won't be playing this weekend, so Belfast have the opportunity to take the top spot, which Cardiff have held for a long time. Sheffield are on a run. Nottingham have been on a run. We're hanging in there. If we win our game in hand, we're only 8 points off the top of the table. It's crazy times in this league, but good fun.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think, what you want. The years that we've had where you've got someone running away, you've got someone that's clearly not going to do anything, and then the middle bunch up like they have. Those are the good years. I think when you have 2 or 3 teams dominating, then everybody else just kind of scrapping, and it's not been particularly great. Or you have like a middle pack, and then you got teams that are way away. That's not ideal, but yeah, I mean, even Dundee, even Manchester can go on a run, and usurp some people above them. Glasgow, Guildford. Even we're not all that safe. You've got to win. You've got to win games, which is why I talked earlier about fine margins. The Blazers need to make sure that when they're in a game, they've got something out of it from here on in. Whether it's a scrappy OT point, which they probably don't deserve, or they're in a game, they deserve to win the game, and they find a way to close it out. However they do that. It's a good league. Like it's cool. I mean, even Fife are starting to play some better hockey under Johnny Curran, which is awesome because we all love Johnny. So yeah, I think we're all secretly Fife Flyers fans when he's behind the bench, for Leicester playing us, of course.
Sure. Anything else?
Yeah, it is really close, and it's great to see that competitive nature. And you look at the teams at the top of that table there, and you think they're all going to be fighting it out. There's a lot of games that teams have still got to play. I actually, there's a good argument for a lot of the teams still being involved, and certainly for the Blaze as well. Definitely in the hunt for that top 4. I know a lot of people won't be looking quite so far ahead, but I think the last weekend for the Blaze, those games are going to matter. It's going to be important because I think this is going all the way down to the wire. Last weekend of the season, Blaze are away at Cardiff and home to Sheffield. They're going to be huge games, and it's going to be I think there's going to be a lot on the line right in the end, and the Blaze are going to be in the business end, whether we're in it or whether we're acting as kingmakers, but and making ourselves into that top 4 spot. It's going to be fantastic.
Kingmakers or spoilers? Wasn't that fun a couple of years ago?
Indeed. But I absolutely love that every game matters. I love that the number one spot is the trophy. We're not having to play off seedings to get the overall game. That's why I love our league. Right, I'll wrap it up there, boys. Thanks very much for joining in for Beyond the Blue Line.